One thing that we have heard time and again in this industry is how difficult it is to find good help. Find them, keep them, not lose them from site to site. So, how the heck are we going to solve that problem? Today, we had Jennifer Wilkerson on the show from NCCER. And she's been with the NCCER since 2009, been working the problem of trying to resource and train up the next gen. We go through why we have this problem to begin with. We talk about what kind of things we can look forward to in the future, which, spoiler alert, not great. And then we finally get to some solutions, like some ways that we might be able to actually solve for this problem. So if you want to be one of the ones educated and ready to get the good help, this is going to be your episode. So let's get into it. This is Jennifer Wilkerson with NCCER.
I have a theory. I think Travis Kelce is going to propose to Taylor Swift if they win.
Gosh.
Could you fathom the explosion?
Jeez. God. I don't even know how football became about Taylor Swift. Boy, she's got it going on everywhere, huh?
Everybody is all...
Good God.
You're very polarized by the whole thing too. You're either all on one side or all on the other.
I'm not on one side or the other. I enjoy kind of looking at it. And Sam, she was watching the Grammys the other night, and she was texting me. She was just like, "Yeah, Travis Kelce and Taylor, they're totally gonna break up after the Super Bowl is over. Like the PR stunt is over at that point."
So she's got the breakup called, and you got the engagement called.
Yes. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see who's right.
I wonder if by the time this episode comes out, it will. Like by the time the episode comes out,
we'll know.
We'll know. Which way did it fall?
Who knows? Do I know all things? That's what I want to know.
No,
I don't know all things.
I can answer that without needing to be in the future.
Well, Jennifer, thanks for joining us today for our rants and raves. Tell us, all right, so give us a little bit of background on what you do, who you are, all that.
Sure. Like you said, Jennifer Wilkerson. I've been at NCCR for 14 years, but in my previous life, I taught high school for 13 years. And also my husband simultaneously had gone to trade school, became an apprentice, a welding apprentice. And so he had started his own business. So I helped out with the business and actually managed the office in between when I left teaching before I found NCCER. I was working at the shop. And so what really happened was it was 2009. The Great Recession was in the midst of it. I was like, one of us better go start working for someone else. And so I found this job, and it was like education and construction together. I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. And the crazy thing though, I go to take a test. I'm going to be a project manager to develop curriculum. And I go there and they give you a test to edit. And they want to see what you know. They give me welding drawings of all things. So I was like, okay, I can do this. So I was like, this is meant to be. And so I've been there for 14 years.
Yeah.
And the great thing about NCCR, I started in product development. I moved over to marketing, and now I'm the vice president of innovation and advancement. But the thing that's so wonderful about NCCER, so the National Center for Construction Education and Research, is it's so mission driven. It's so great because it really is about how do we improve people's lives through education. And the construction industry is it for me. So I love it.
So did your parents or anything, or were they in construction at all? Or did you just kind of like come into the construction industry as a result of like your husband going into the trades and all?
So my father was a residential contractor. So he did that. I had no intention of doing anything. I went to college originally for finance. So it was the 80s. I was going to be a stockbroker. I was going to go to New York. That was it in the 80s. That didn't pan out because what I found out whenever you actually get a license junior year of college and you do it, you're actually helping people with their retirement funds. It wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. And my father was the one that said, well, what do you want to do? What do you like? And I was like, I like reading. I like writing. And he's like, why don't you teach? So here I was, 1 year left of college, and I switched over to, which I love. I mean, I have a passion for teaching, so it ended up being great.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny how like you can set yourself up so much for your second career almost, right? Just with that first one. It's like people get impatient thinking like, oh, I'm going to be here as was an English teacher? Is that what? Yeah,
English teacher.
Yeah. So I was an English teacher for 10 years. I'm going to keep doing that. But honestly, you're just setting yourself up for creating curriculum in construction, which is so funny how that works.
I know.
It all just kind of marries itself together. So I want to talk about the business that you and your husband were running though. So what is that? What do you guys do? This is before NCCER and all of that. What do you guys do?
So welding fabrication shop started out really just kind of miscellaneous, kind of small, and grew into really the multifamily market is where we've been. So fabrication and installation for multifamily, handrails, stairs, balconies, you name it, anything like that. That's something that we've been working on and doing. Some structural, have done some structural, and it's a good spot for us for the size that we are.
So you've had to do some hiring. How has hiring changed from when you started working with your husband building that business to when you to even now? Because you're with NCCER right now. You're still watching your husband over there run everything. How has that all evolved over the years? Recruitment, training, all of that. Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse? Has it stayed about the same?
It's for me, it's really interesting looking at construction in general. Is people just don't know about it. So I think it was easier for a while because there were so many people in construction and people passed it down for their family, and they were like me. They had somebody, so they were at least familiar with it. So in the beginning, it seemed like in 98 and then coming up from there with the business, it was a little bit easier to find people that had welded before and done it, because even if it was like I did it with my dad or my grandfather, or I did it on the side, you had people that were familiar with it. What I think has happened, and we've seen this, and that's the other side of the coin that we can talk about in career and technical education, but there was such a move away from that for so many. There was no longer shop class, so people weren't exposed to it. So I think what I see now is you got to train them. We got to start earlier, and a lot of them don't know it. So in this market right now, when we're in such a workforce shortage, and everyone's looking for people to work, it's difficult. It's a difficult one to do. It's just finding the right people that, we've had some young people come in, they took a welding course at a community college, and they start welding. They're like, I didn't know it was going to be this hot. We're like, of course it's going to be hot. This is welding. Here's what you're going to do. But from that aspect, I think it's harder. I think there's some light for us in construction, but as far as with his business, that's really the hardest thing. I think it's tough. I think we're in a tough market, and I think it's tough because there's no shop class and people aren't building things at home. So,
it's hot in Florida welding. So that's a news flash. So
shocking.
Yeah, setting expectations, and also, I've heard just retaining people, right? You get a crew, they go out on site, and then you get people getting poached for $1 an hour.
Absolutely.
And they're leaving and going elsewhere. So just for maintaining, because you're trying to function at a high level. Also, when you're out installing, you're a service-based business. You're making money off of the hours that people work. If you don't have anybody to work, put the hours in, you're not making money. So that's a tough way to make a living about now.
It is a tough way. And you're right about the jumping. It is so crazy. I think that's another thing that's changed. I think people are loyal, but I think there was a difference. People were given an opportunity, they got a job, and they stuck with it. And now, because of the market, and I can get a couple more dollars, and I'm going to jump over here, and no notice, no anything, just there's no thought about it. It's I'm just going to go start a new job, and you're calling to find out where the person is, and you haven't shown up. Is everything okay? Oh, I took a different job. They don't even know the etiquette of having a job, holding a job, and how you should respond to that. So it's crazy.
I guess if there's no penalty on the other side for not having left your previous employer, well, because that was the error, right? You give the 2 weeks out of courtesy, but you also give it out of the fact that I want to make sure that I have good references later.
Absolutely.
I'm not burning bridges, but the jobs are there to be had.
It's such a hot market. There, all of it. Anybody even listening, I'm sure, is thinking the same thing, right? How do we get more people? What do we do?
We talk some data center stuff. Some of the larger projects are exerting market pressure and is actually raising the wage rate that people are having to pay, because if I can go work at the data center for $10 more an hour. Well, then now there's a vacuum formed to where I used to work. So that's an interesting pressure that's being put too. So all that equals very hard to find people. Also means that as employers, we have to be pretty diligent about training and bringing people up and educating them.
Yes.
So how do you guys come in there?
Yeah, that's a big thing. I know one of the things personally about my husband that has always been really good is he is definitely a teacher, like a natural born. And I think that's in the construction industry in general. I don't think people that are outside of our industry realize the mentorship and the people that are willing to help them and pass it down, right? Like help them do that. And so with us, we have connected more with the local community colleges and looked at their programs, trying to go in there. And then we absolutely, you have to offer training now. You have to do it, whatever form that type of training is, whatever size you are, you have to really think about what you're doing and making sure, because young people today, they want a pathway. They want to know, what are you going to do to help me better myself, develop or whatever? And they're expecting that. And I think that's the hard thing, especially when you're a small contractor. How do I train? How do I even, that's not even my day job. Like, how do I do that?
A lot of times you feel like you need to invent it. Like, I know that was kind of the case for us for a little while too, because structural detailings are really, really niche anyway. So we felt like we needed to invent kind of our own curriculum. And I feel like that a lot of contractors are left trying to do that.
We had this experience too. We had, intern Garrett. And Garrett, we made him a job offer after college. Garrett was adept at what we did, looked like, hey, this is somebody we would want to work with us. But as a result, Garrett had other opportunities, and Pulte Homes came up. And so Pulte had a training program, and it was one of the chief reasons that he wanted to go there. They had a path of progression, and they showed him how he would be trained. So, which we're supposed to have Garrett back on the show.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
For 3 years later, 3 years after he's entered the industry, like what's happening?
He's going to come in here and be so salty now. Like, it's going to be so great. He was so cherub-faced and like just bright-eyed and everything. Now everything's just going to be sad. I'm so excited.
Hey, it's a testimony of exactly what you're saying. Like, that mattered to him. And why wouldn't it? I mean, you want to learn, you want to grow, because you know that growth is equivalent to that's better salary, better benefits, better opportunities. So it makes a lot of sense. So you get a small company, maybe you're a large company, but it is very difficult to resource and try to figure out how you're going to train that talent. You're helping with that. Right.
Actually, NCCER, we develop curriculum anywhere from welding, HVAC, carpentry, you name it, all the way to wind turbine maintenance technician and solar. So we have 45 different craft areas that we have, and we develop the curriculum. But I think the beauty of what we do is someone could go and buy this curriculum from Pearson. It's out there. They're our publishing partner. It's out there. But if you want your people to have credentials, portable credentials, recognition of what they've done, then you work under the NCCER umbrella. We're not an association. We're not a membership. What we do is if someone wants to start offering the training, we just want to make sure, do you have the facilities to do that? Do you have the resources? We have a train the trainer program that people can get involved and do that. A lot of times when it's a small contractor, what makes it difficult is they don't have any ability or time to do any of that. So typically in the past, we've always talked about, get with an association. Do you have an associated builders and contractors? Do you have an associated general contractor? Because we work with them closely and they have education directors. And so being a member of that, that's one of the benefits that you get from an ABC or an AGC. And there's a lot of other associations that do a lot of community-based. But the other thing is community colleges. A lot of people don't think, and here's the beauty, as terrible as everything has been after COVID, our terrible dark years of COVID, is that the pendulum's swinging back the other way. And high schools and community colleges are starting to say, we need to offer options. We need to make sure that these young people know, or second job or whatever, that there's options. So the curriculum we have, it can be taught in high school. So we have over 2,000 high schools that use us right now. It can be taught by contractors. It can be taught at an association. We're in almost 600 prisons across the United States. And so the curriculum is flexible enough to either be set up like an apprenticeship or a pre-apprenticeship. If that's what you want. We developed it so it would meet the 144 classroom hours that are required by the DOL. The 2000 OJT is something that the contractor, the association helps with whenever you do that if you want to do an apprenticeship. The other thing is flexibility. You can go in our catalog and say, hey, I want a little bit of HVAC. I want a little bit of electrical. I want to pull this together. You work with your community colleges. They are listening. I was just at the American Association for Community Colleges, and the room was absolutely full of colleges wanting to know, how do we do this? How do we work with our local employers? And the people that we had on the panel talked about, we just want to be a part of developing the curriculum. We want to help you pick and choose what needs to be in the programs for our local contractors. And so I think so I would say for small contractors, associations, community colleges, find high schools that are offering NCCER or another program, because here's the thing we have to do as an industry. We have to get out of the mindset that everyone has to be journey level. We've done it. Guess what? We're using up our journey level people. How many people do you think there are for the amount of jobs we have now? There are going to be journey people. They're going to be in these apprenticeship programs, but you're going to have to start looking at high schools and community colleges and train them. I mean, what's the beauty? So a young person in high school takes our core curriculum. So that's intro to power tools, hand tools, construction math. You do your OSHA 10 in there, your basic safety, you get everything. And then maybe you take one level of carpentry, HVAC, welding, masonry, whatever it might be. You are the prime candidate. You had a student that dedicated 2 years or 1 or 2 years in high school to develop something. They're looking for jobs. So I think we have to, as an industry, start realizing not everyone's going to be the 5-star welder or the 5-star industrial maintenance or whatever it might be, HVAC, HEO, whatever you're looking for. Look to your high schools and look to your community colleges.
Are you seeing any resistance for high schools? Now I've heard of, like, so we talk about like shop class and stuff. And would this fall under kind of the scope of like, hey, we're starting up a shop class in high school?
Absolutely.
Okay. One of the things that was brought up, and I'm curious to know if you know anything of this, is insurance. Is that a lot of high schools are not willing to start up a shop class because of insurances. Have you guys heard anything about that or had any issues with that?
We haven't had any it hasn't been asked to us.
Okay.
We recently started our high school builder program, which is an effort to get high schools that maybe have never had a career and technical education program, or maybe they do have one, but they want to expand it. And so we've kind of created this comprehensive that helps them get started with what tools they need, already packaged up. How do you teach maybe your science teacher, your ag teacher, anyone in STEM or anywhere else to teach? And what we say is just do the basics. Yeah. Just do the basics. Because we truly believe that someone can be trained to do that. We have a full training program for that. But I haven't heard about the insurance.
Yeah, that was a unique circumstance. I think it was a comment somewhere. Somebody just had mentioned it. And I've been kind of like poking around and being like, has anybody else heard of this? Because I mean, like, golly, that's a pretty lame excuse, honestly, for not incorporating this in. Because, I mean, dude, quite honestly, yeah. I mean, some kids are going to enjoy, sitting at a desk or, I don't know. There are some kids that are going to enjoy that, but a lot of kids are going to freaking enjoy working with their hands. Like,
absolutely.
Just love it. And so offering that up as an opportunity for them, I think is just so cool. And that's something we've got to revive.
We do. We have to do it. And what we're hearing is the high schools want to talk to local employers. They want to know whatever sector is happening in that community, the schools want to provide that. For a while, they weren't open to it. It used to be called vocational education, and it got a really bad rap. And so in the 90s, they revigorated it, and it's called career and technical education, whether that's a nursing program in a high school or culinary arts or automotive, whatever it might be. It all falls under that umbrella of what we call CTE. And they've done a good job of really trying to bring it back because, if you look at it and you look after World War II, what we find is when they gave the GI Bill, which is wonderful, fantastic, give the GI Bill, but we defined success as a nation. And that meant you go to college, because guess what we did for our veterans? We sent them to college. And you can actually see the shop classes, this vocational ed start slowly over decades kind of start disappearing from our schools. And no surprise where we are now, right? We didn't even encourage it, and we didn't say you could be successful. The only way you could be successful was go to college. Mm-hmm. And so that's something I do think we see schools coming to us now. Hey, we want to start a program, but they need help. They need help on just how to do that and what to do in terms of, and help. NCCER can offer them the help for the program, but help finding teachers that can do it, help finding people to come in and talk to the kids, because they want to talk to, the electricians. They want to talk to the heavy equipment operators. They want to know what that means, because so many of them, I'm telling you, they haven't even picked up a hammer in their life, really.
I'm curious. So you hear through MicroWorks or like some of these different programs that are out there, because this is a talking point. Like we are talking about it. It's maybe why we're starting to see some headway made. But it always seems to me that welder, plumber, electrician get thrown out there on the list. Maybe HVAC tech, but the list doesn't get much deeper than that. And I'm wondering, like, is the market flooding, say, in those, whereas like maybe there's some more opportunity in some others? I've recently looked at like surveying with my son. Like, are there some markets that are in more dire need than others that you've seen from your position and your seat?
Absolutely. I mean, you could absolutely see, especially right now with all the data centers and everything going up, or a lot of different things that are happening, the battery plants and everything. There is absolutely dire need where any of these mega projects are going up. There's the need for that. I love what you said. So I think there's two things here. First of all, I want to say, when we talk about plumbing or welding or electrical, we also have to say that doesn't mean that you're a welder or electrician or a plumber for 50 years. Nobody expects you to do that. But the beauty of construction is you can move up to your crew leader, you can be a foreman, you can move up to superintendent. The career pathways we don't talk enough about. We just say, like what you're saying, HVAC technician, plumber, we say this over and over instead of saying, you know what? There is no other industry in which you can leave I would say it's the best industry that you can start on your tools and either be an executive in a company or own your own company. Mm-hmm. I mean, a school teacher's not going to own the school. The doctor's not going to own the hospital. But in construction, guess what? That's really true. And then I would say the other thing, you're absolutely right. Like, we don't talk about all of the other things that may interest. We get on those same 5 or 6 craft areas. And I think it's because that's what people know. And they can get teachers for it. So in high school, we do that. Through our Build Your Future program, what we do is we have these trading cards, which I love. They look like baseball cards. And we put every single card has a picture of someone in a different craft, whether that's painting, whether it is survey. We have a surveyor on there, whatever it might be. And then on the back, it says, here's the type of person that might like doing. Here's the skills or qualities you might be, or curiosities you might be interested in. Here's the amount of school it takes. And here's the average salary for somebody doing that, because that's certainly appealing. But you're right. Like, we need to talk about more than the 5 that come out of everybody's mouth.
There's so many stinking opportunities out there. It's nuts. I mean, you spend all day trying to list every single, like, for crying out loud. I was talking to somebody the other day. This is, construction adjacent, I feel like, but roller coaster painter. Yeah, roller coaster paint technician. Heard that one the other day. I'm like, holy cow. Only in construction, right? There's just so many little nuancy, little niches along the way that you can plug yourself into. Yeah, and you could run a business from that. You want to become an entrepreneur. I mean, dude, construction's the place to be.
Absolutely.
Full stop.
Hey, specialty coatings. I mean, we've recently encountered a very large specialty coatings outfit putting on like macro epoxies and things like this. Oh my gosh. I mean, the opportunity that's in that and the business that they've built, insane. But one of the things I like here is that you've got kind of a foot in both worlds, because not only do you have the educational side of things, and now you're doing construction education, but your family's a testimony to this. Like, this is the family business absolutely demonstrates the fact that you can go from craft to executive.
Absolutely.
and build quite a nice business for yourself and a good life. So I like that that's not just something that's a talking point, like it's actually been in your life. That's cool.
Yeah, very cool. And even the president, the CEO of NCCER, Boyd Worsham, he spent 38 years with Haskell Company out of Jacksonville. And his first job was because of a carpentry program in a high school in which Haskell was involved. And they gave out this gold hammer award for the students and stuff that do really great. And he got offered a job from that. And guess what? He stayed there 38 years and then decided, you know what? I want to give back. I want to make sure other young people have this opportunity. So contractors don't realize just those little things can make such a difference for students. Want to be able to connect someone to what they're hearing. And if they can't connect it, industrial maintenance technician, what is that? I have no idea. Someone come in and talk about it, they're like, oh, that's real. Or your roller coaster painting technician.
Right, yeah. Well, all right. So let's beat on college a little bit more because I always enjoy that. So colleges have done an amazing job at mapping out the trajectory of their programs, right? It's like you start here, you come in, you get your core curriculum done, and then you start doing a little bit deeper study on, let's say, I don't know, textiles. Yeah, we're going to dig into this so you can get your degree in that. Kids need that. They need to see, like, here is the path that I'm going to take. It even makes the parents feel better too, because they can look at it and see, oh, at the end of the day, they could go and get this job. And that's one area in the industry our butts have just been kicked.
Absolutely.
Again and again and again by college. And we've got to start, I guess getting a clue. It's like we got to map these things out. You got to kind of put it in writing and do a step-by-step for them. That's a great place to start for any company out there, mapping it out.
You're a testimony of that too.
I am.
Because you've come in and apprenticed. And though your career trajectory has changed, you were picking up skills along the way that enabled you later. My son, who I paired him up, the surveying thing, paired him up with Nathan Patton. What you just said, like, that was so true. I could have probably talked till I was blue in the face about surveying. I know our dads even said stuff about surveying to my son. But he put somebody, like a real person that did it, and we know Nathan. He's like this really cool guy, and he was able to speak about it with some exuberance, and some youthful cool, and was like, "Oh man, that's a pretty cool career. You get to do some fun stuff in that." And all of a sudden, it was connected. Boom.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you watch it kind of fall together. And my goal as a parent would be to put as many people like that in front of him as I could possibly get. That we could see. Is that the key? Like, as you're trying to engage, I guess, you got Gen Z and younger. What is that, Gen A after that?
I have no idea.
Like, is that the key? Like, is that the unlock?
I think it is. I think it's probably multi-pronged, but here's the deal. If there's high school programs, you're a contractor and you're not engaging in them, you are so missing an opportunity. And I've had contractors say, well, I don't know who to talk to and I don't know what to say when I get there. I'm like, tell them you want to come in and you want to do a luncheon for the teachers. You're going to buy them all lunch. You're going to do a breakfast and get up there and just talk about, hey, I'm contractor XYZ down the road and here's what we do. And I just want to get in front of your students and tell them some of our we'll come to your classroom. We'll talk to them. Ask if there's CTE teacher there. And if there's not, I'm telling you, I taught for 13 years. If you offer teachers free food and you come and do it, and they're gonna let you come in. Teachers ask me all the time, well, how do I know which contract? How do I talk to them? What should I say? Invite them to come to your school. So there's this disconnect because guess what? College recruiters do that. Colleges go in, they have college day at school, wear your colors at high school and stuff. They're ingrained in everything they do. Construction needs to be that. So yes, absolutely. We need to get involved at the high school level and do that. And I know, here's what I hear all the time. Well, we did career days. We bought supplies for the schools and they just really didn't do that much. Times have changed. Just because you did it 5 years ago and it didn't work doesn't mean it won't work now. And schools aren't asking for money like they used to. Not saying that the schools have all the money they need. They do have grants and Perkins funding that they have, but They want the people. They want them in front of their students. I've talked to school counselors. We go to the American School Counselor Association every year. They're like, look, I am so, I have 600 kids under me in a high school. So it's anywhere from 450 to 600 kids per counselor. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about construction, but if you give me something, if you want me to put up something about, if you have pamphlets, if you have something, 65% of the counselors that we surveyed said, I'm the person to give stuff like that to. If you don't find anything else, please give it to me at our school. They're willing to do it. They just, we got to get out there. We got to do it.
It's so funny. It's funny that you say that too, because a contractor shows up, they hand out a bunch of this, that, and the other, and they do this one thing. It's like going to the gym one time and being frustrated that you didn't get abs, right? I wouldn't know what that's like, but still, it takes consistency.
It does.
It takes, consistency over time. I mean, especially with the younger generation, just showing up, just being there. Don't have to be in their face, but just be there, be present. And that's an amazing way to start guiding kids more into this construction pathway.
The opportunities are there. It sounds like if we could get the inertia of more people in the industry working together to actually be proactive, we might get somewhere with this thing. I don't know that there's any doubt, though, that we do have a problem. Do you have any fun facts or stats surrounding where workforce is at right now as an industry?
By 2025, 25% of the current construction workforce will retire. By 2028, 32% based on age, based on when we see certain crafts retire out. Some are a little bit harder on your body, so they do. But think about that. By 2028, 2025, I mean, that's next year. It sounded like a long time ago whenever we first started talking about these stats, but there are that many people. We have an older industry. And so when you start talking about average ages of certain crafts being in the 40s, we better get our act together. And then on top of that, for every 5 people that leave our industry, only one's entering. For every 5, one is entering. How will we ever fill this gap if we don't change the way we're doing it and we don't get as active and as involved as the colleges are, as football programs, as anything like that? I mean, we see some really great schools now with industry that have that have these great signing days. So just like they do for sports, the contractors come because they've been working with the schools and they're picking kids out of high schools and they bring their colors, they bring their hats, and the stuff.
That's awesome.
And they're picking these kids out of high school. And it's that's what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
That's what we have to do it. And like you said, consistency. Don't do it once. Your abs aren't going to show up. I'm sorry if you feel like they haven't shown up yet. But
it's never been in the cards for me, honestly. So.
But it is going back over and over again and doing something to help them. But those are some crazy stats that's scary to me.
So we're about to lose a third of the workforce. Mm-hmm. We already have said we're thin. Presently, right now where we sit, we're thin. And we're looking at a third. And then current replacement rate is not replacement rate, 1 to 5. All right, so...
Dismal.
I'm no economist. But it feels like there's some money to be made tomorrow doing something like this. Mm-hmm. Because if there is that much demand, there's got to be a good dollar on the table to attract people to this.
Yeah.
So, and from what I hear, that's what Gen Z seems to be very into. They do want a path progression, but Gen Z seems to be less like you millennial bunch.
Gen Z's growing up.
Millennials wanted the why and the purpose. Gen Z's show me the money.
Show me the money.
That's right. It really is. I mean, this seems to be the research on this group is they want to be upwardly mobile.
Yeah.
So I think there's some opportunity there from that standpoint too. It's not everything, but it is something.
Yeah. So what are some resources specifically that you could point at that NCCER has for those that are wanting to do better jobs at this? All right, we've got a contractor that's listening right now and they want to start doing more stuff in schools or whatever that may be. What sort of resources could you point them at?
Sure. I would tell them to go to Build Your Future. So byf.org. That is our image enhancement and recruitment initiative that we've had for a long time. We actually have already designed PowerPoints. We've already designed games to do with high school students. It's all middle school students. I mean, we got to start this, we've got this talent pipeline that we have to build, but We have all kinds of things already available. If you want to do a career day, if that's something you want to do, we have them all put together. The packs are already put together with trading cards and handouts and suggestions on what you need to do and how to talk to them. So I would say, check that out, look there. The other thing that we started was what's called Career Starter, and that's part of BYF. And literally, it is a connection tool that we are having high school students sign up on. This is only for high school students at this point. We plan on doing some other, to go in, sign up, say what they've been doing, and contractors, completely free of charge, can advertise their company over there on there. They can connect with the students, like offer a job. The student has to reach out to them. They can't just go and do that. But they can search for students that have credentials in certain things, and it matches them up with the right people. And so they can post their jobs on there. They can post their company, make a page for their company, and have them come over. We got to get in front of them. So I would say we have those type of resources to help them get in to the schools.
That's byf.org.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, we'll try to link that in the show notes as well. One other that I'll shout out, our friend Angie Simon, Heavy Metal Summer Experience. That's a great one. I know they're constantly looking for contractors to get involved with that too. Just hands-on learning stuff, guys. Nothing can replace that.
No.
Just put a hammer in their hand and let them go to town, man. They'll be like, oh, this is kind of fun. I actually kind of enjoy this. Crap.
Well, and it makes math come to life, right? It makes math and science really, that's what I've said for so many years. If these teachers could understand, we did this really neat thing in Georgia years ago. And I think it was with Jacobs had come in and they were building a plant that was doing some of the ceramic pieces or something for fracking. And so they had come into a particular area, small town, and we started getting involved with the school. And so we decided to make a math challenge. And we took a little bit of HVAC, a little bit of electrical, a little bit of plumbing, and we put some problems in there. And we told, with Jacobs, with the contractor, we said, listen, we want your kids to compete against each other. And whichever class wins this little math challenge, we're going to have a pizza party. And we're going to bring the contractor in to talk to them and everything. Literally, the math teachers were like, I had no idea that you guys did this level of math. We had to go talk to some of our CTE teachers to understand how they were applying this because it's fantastic. We didn't know. And so it's things like that we have to help. And people coming in and doing that can help with that. That's the beauty of bring the construction contractors into your classrooms.
You got me so curious because there's a seam of kaolin that runs through Middle Georgia. It's used for the ceramic beads that they use for fracking. And so I think there's probably a strong possibility that was in a town about 15 minutes south of here. So pretty interesting. That may have actually hit a local, a semi-local county, like Wilkinson County. And I can think of counties Wilkinson County, Baldwin County, the surrounding towns here, these kind of opportunities for the kids in the schools, they're amazing opportunities. And it just does my heart good to think that, there's some awareness for them, that they know that there is a path for them and that they can actually do something with that path. Construction can take you some pretty cool places. And I have no idea, so many people talk about coming out of that family that had construction, Dad did construction, and I'd never wanted to do construction. I don't know if it's because Dad belly aches so much when he comes home talking about construction, but I didn't want to do construction, but here I sit.
And I didn't want to do construction, and yet here I sit.
But I'm having fun with it now that I am. And I'm realizing, when I was 6 years old, I always did like to dig in the dirt with the trucks and everything and swing a hammer. Yep. I loved it. I loved building things. Yeah. A lot of my toys were building toys that I love Lego. I love, why not bring that stuff to bear and say, hey, this is a fun way of making a living too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so many kids, that's absolutely true. It's just natural for a kid to dig in the dirt and build things and they love it. And then at some point they stop doing it and we don't encourage them to take that and make it into a passion and make it into a career, which they can. Yeah. That's the thing that's so crazy about that is it's a shame. It's a shame that we do that and we tamper down a passion that might be there.
Maybe we can stoke it a little bit. That's the idea of the episode here. So.
For sure.
Yeah.
Whew, all right. That's some good stuff. All right. So we'll link some of those resources down in the show notes. But for now, I think it's a good time to ask you our megaphone question for this
Okay.
episode. So if we gave you a megaphone in around 60 seconds to speak to the construction industry, what would you want to say? What would you want to leave with?
I would say carpe diem. We have never had a better time than right now. Seriously, I'm watching education. The pendulum is swinging back to us. If we don't seize the day now, we are going to find ourselves again 20 years from now going, why can't we find people? So I think whatever it means in your community, leave a legacy. Start with these schools, like build something that will last even longer than maybe your company's only there for a certain amount of time building something. But this is the time. This is the time for construction in community colleges and high schools. I don't care what program it is, what curriculum it is. I want them to choose construction, and I want them to know their options. Mm-hmm. And it's up to us. We can't keep complaining we don't have people in this industry if we are not going out and doing something about it. Everyone wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to do. You know how many workforce development committee meetings I've been in? Not just NCCER, but other organizations. And we talk and we talk and we talk, and nothing ever gets done. So I would challenge the construction industry. Get off your and get on your feet and go visit your local schools and do something.
Love it.
Well done. Well done. I like that one. Jennifer, you are welcome back anytime. Thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you.